Israel-Iran news today. Israel can still bring the U.S. to war with Iran. Israel and Iran have avoided a regional war, which relieves the Biden administration. It was a close call, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his conservative governing coalition still have incentives to provoke one. The Biden administration's fury over Iran's well-planned symbolic missile and drone attacks on Israeli land conflicts and its boast that Israel had won by downing almost all the scheduled projectiles were ludicrous. Since American policy has long been in the bag for its Israeli friend, stupid kabuki has become routine. Even while the U.S. declared victory to deter Israel from escalating in retaliation to the Iranian strike, the New York Times reported that the Israeli leader came close to ordering a much greater retaliatory assault. Hamas started the Gaza conflict with its heinous terrorist attack on Israel, but Israel's purposefully reckless attack on Iran's embassy compound in Syria on April 1, 2024, which killed 7 Iranian military personnel, including 3 top Iranian generals, threatened to escalate the conflict into a direct Israel-Iran war that could have involved the U.S. Israel's strike on the Iranian embassy in Syria was an attack on Iran itself because embassies are considered home soil. Iran responded with a symbolic missile and drone attack on Israel. Netanyahu and his conservative coalition have openly rejected a two-state solution that would reduce regional strife and improve Israel's security. Israel has always wanted to force the U.S. into conflict with Iran to weaken Iran's military and maintain regional supremacy, even before this pugnacious regime took power. The Israeli government's vehement opposition to the U.S.-led nuclear deal with Iran, which would have prevented Iran from building a nuclear weapon, showed this secret goal. What would have pleased Israel would have been a deal that significantly limited Iran's development. Israel realized that undermining tensions between Iran and the U.S. would have thwarted any significantly damaging U.S. military attack on Iran's conventional military forces and nuclear program. Fortunately for Israeli hawks, President Donald Trump unilaterally abandoned the nuclear deal, boosting the chance that the U.S. would militarily attack Israel's archrival. Netanyahu has foolishly shown his support for Trump and the Republicans, making it impossible to drag President Biden into conflict with Iran. Netanyahu may have a good opportunity today. An even bigger battle, including direct U.S. military combat with Iran, would allow an unpopular, indicted prime minister continue in power and divert attention from his massively excessive military reaction and possible catastrophe in Gaza. Partnerships with foreign nations only benefit the U.S. if they improve security. The free rider problem, in which the dominant state, always the U.S., pays the greater expense burden, can encourage smaller countries like Israel to be more confrontational with their neighbors. U.S. and allied pressure on Israel to limit its retaliatory strike on Iran has prevented a wider regional war, but Netanyahu's political survival may depend on such escalation, especially if he needs to divert public attention from the likely quagmire that poorly planned Gaza aftermath will likely bring, similar to the U.S.'s ongoing counterinsurgency slog after an initial win in Iraq. After his reckless attack on the Iranian embassy, Netanyahu's poll numbers rose amid his conflict with Iran. Why not launch a major first strike on Iranian-backed Hezbollah on Israel's northern border to escalate? Christoph wrote that one of his scarier exchanges with an Israeli official recently was his encouragement of a first strike on Hezbollah, and a poll indicated that 53% of Israeli Jews favor such an attack. In their rush to establish a Pax Americana after World War II, U.S. policymakers forgot a lesson the American founding generation learned: permanent and entangling alliances can commit a country to needless and costly faraway wars, especially a country like the U.S. that is far from the world's conflict centers. When alliances led to World War I, Europe's great powers disregarded their drawbacks. To avert a wider Middle East war, Biden should threaten to cut off or limit billions of dollars in annual U.S. military funding to Israel if it does not halt its overheated activities in Gaza and its blatant attempts to include Iran. Instead, the U.S. is greatly expanding that aid, rewarding Israel for its irresponsibility.